Our prompt is, should the minimum wage be the same as living wage? Presented by Mariana and Molly.
Our group believes that minimum wage should be the same as a living wage. Let's explain the market impact and reasoning behind this opinion.
Our moral philosophy is summed up by this quote: the purpose of minimum wage laws is to prevent employers from exploiting workers.
The majority of U.S. adults, 62%, favored raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, according to an April 2021 Pew Research Center study. There are 5 main advantages of the $15 minimum wage. First, boosting productivity. Workers who can cover the cost of living have better morale. They're more productive if they have a decent standard of living. Next, it reduces income inequality. A higher minimum wage can provide more incentive to work while reducing income inequality, the large disparity in how income is distributed among individuals, groups, populations, social classes, or countries, due in part to structural racism or sexism. Next, it spurs economic growth. A higher minimum wage better reflects the actual cost of living. Workers who are able to earn more than the cost of living contribute more to the economy because they have more money to spend and are less likely to default on debts. That increases demand and business revenue and lowers things like consumer debt, healthcare debt, and evictions. Next, it promotes education and self-improvement. Workers who have more time and money can then invest in their educations, which can further increase their productivity while improving the attractiveness of the country's labor pool. A more educated workforce can also increase innovation and the number of small businesses. And finally, it improves employee retention. Minimum wage laws benefit individual businesses. Workers are less likely to leave and find a higher paying job, thus reducing turnover and expensive retraining costs.
How many people earn the minimum wage? In 2020, 1.1 million workers earn the minimum wage or lower in the United States, or 1.5% of hourly paid workers. Can you support a family on minimum wage? A person working 40 hours per week for minimum wage would earn around $15,000 before taxes. That is below the federal poverty line for a family of 2 or more people. It is lower than the average cost for a one-bedroom apartment in the United States in 2020, which was $1,621 per month or $19,000 per year. How long has the minimum wage stayed the same? The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 per hour since July of 2009. Due to inflation, workers have needed to pay $9.57 in December of 2021 to have the same purchasing power as minimum wage workers in 2009.
In 2012, several states and cities, including California, Massachusetts, New York, and the District of Columbia, have voted to gradually raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour. Last month, overriding Governor Hogan's veto, Maryland joined the ranks of the most progressive minimum wage states and locales in the country. The governor based his veto on the argument that the raise in a minimum wage would harm the state's economy and drive jobs away. A basic economic supply and demand model of the labor market supports Governor Hogan's position. When applied to the labor market, this model implies that a higher minimum wage will lead to an increase in the supply of workers, as people are attracted into the labor market, and a decrease in demand for the workers, as firms decide to hire fewer workers at the higher minimum wage. This price floor, like all price floors, should then lead to a surplus of workers, and in the labor market, a surplus of workers means higher unemployment. And yet, careful empirical work shows that there are little to no negative employment effects when states raise their minimum wage. In the absence of significant movements in the federal minimum wage, states started to increase their minimum wages in the 1970s and 1980s as the federal minimum wage failed to keep up with inflation. David Card and Alan Kruger realized that this offered economists a natural experiment in which they could test the effects of a higher minimum wage on state unemployment rates. They first looked at Philadelphia metropolitan area when New Jersey increased its minimum wage, but Pennsylvania did not. The result? There is no evidence that New Jersey's unemployment rate went up as a result of its minimum wage. This research has been repeated and expanded a number of times, and all find little to no effect of higher minimum wages on the unemployment rate, with only a few exceptions, especially relating to the specific effect of rising wages for teenagers.